students, welcome to my channel. Today another chapter which is very important chapter for us to know. That is the title in fact is mentioned in this chapter is elements of weather and climate. So this particular portion which will be indicating about the weather and climate, then elements of weather and climate. These are the few we have got the topics, and this particular chapters we will be talking about in details right now. So you already know that the term weather and climate are actually often interchanged, and sometimes we find difficult rather to match. It may say it has got a different terms. In fact, weather and climate when we talk about seems to be like a similar, but then there are something difference we can find. So let us know about the this particular weather. So part by part we will go ahead. So weather is what the condition of the atmosphere at a particular area over a short period of time is known as weather. So you must remember, weather is a very short period of time. For example, this morning we have seen there is a sunlight, and after 5 minutes you will be seeing that there is a wind blowing, and then suddenly the cloud is forming in the sky, and then after some time you can see that there is a rainfall. So it may say the weather is actually very much very often it is changing. So it is not taking a long time to change. Understood? So weather is like that. So let us know more about it again. So we generally actually refer to weather as a hot, cold, rainy, stormy, windy, sultry, then clear, overcast, and bright or sunny. Then weather is also not constant. It is like a ever changing. It can change from place to place and from time to time in a short span of time. Then for example, one town of the region may have a clear sky, while the other town may have the overcast sky. And today might be a bright day, but tomorrow it may rain. So some kind of like a short, within a short time things happening is known as the weather. So let us also know about the climate. What exactly the climate? So the average weather conditions, okay, the average weather condition of a large area, okay, a long period of time is known as the climate. So the time period could be 20 to 30 years. It may say, you can understand that what type of climate actually we have got. Okay, so it may say this particular climate when we talk about, it may say either it will be continuously very hot, and this particular heat will prevail at least quite many years. And all on a sudden there will be some changes will be taking place, maybe due to the some sort of like a natural calamities, and you can see that there will be a changes. For example, this year, for example, right from the beginning the heat was not much experienced, even though heat was there, but then heat was not that much experienced. But you see, after 6 months, suppose we again maybe, okay, this year we may not be experiencing, but in the next year perhaps may not be the same. So such kind of things are actually occurring. So the climates are actually part of that actually. Okay, it may say a long duration, a long period of time, the same type of like a climate, same type of like a what could cold and warm, all these things will prevail, and then suddenly after that there will be some changes, okay, due to some like a natural calamities or some other agents. So that is actually happening. So the climate of a place actually remains constant for a long time and does not change like the weather. For example, when we refer to India's climate, we say India has a tropical monsoon climate. Tropical monsoon climate. Now, whereas when we talk about the climate of Vancouver, we say Vancouver has a moderate oceanic climate, and then Antarctica has a polar climate. So these are the continuously is prevailing. So climate of a place actually determines the lifestyle of its people, and it also influences the type of clothes they wear. So when we talk about the climate, it may say here also refers about the people's like a food habit, people's dress code, and people's like what called like a lifestyle. Okay, so here it is also influenced the type of like a cloth they wear. That is also we have to mention. Now the crops grown in these places where also varying climate are actually different, and the flora and fauna found in this area experiencing different climates is also different. It may say whatever the things that we find in that prevailing climate, that actually actually makes the difference from country to country, or maybe the area to area. So that's why climate is a, that way we can explain. Now, elements of weather and climate. Elements of weather and climate. So there are number of like factors that affect the weather and climate of a place. So these are actually atmosphere, temperature, pressure, winds, humidity, then precipitation, sunshine, and also cloudiness. So these are the few that is the elements in fact we will talk about. So let us know about the atmospheric temperature. How they say atmospheric temperature. So atmospheric temperature, of course, refers to how hot or cold the air is at a place, and then the sun is actually the main source of heat and light energy. Heat energy is continually actually radiated by the sun, and this is known as the solar radiation. Now, the Earth is actually very small as compared to the sun, and is very far away. So therefore, it receives only a small part of the solar radiation. About 1% is 1% in a 200 million. So the amount of solar energy received by the Earth is a cold insolation. So you must remember that particular heat that we are actually receiving from the sun, the solar energy we can call it. So it is called the insolation. So the amount of insolation that reaches the Earth's surface depends upon the inclination of the sun's rays. It may say depends upon the sun's rays. It may say how much or how fast the heat is actually produced by the sun. We know that from the sun, the helium actually evaporating, and this particular helium, how far takes place from the within to come out, and then to reaching to the surface, and then from that the heat is actually what called like a throwing. So that actually depends upon. Okay, so therefore you can understand the Earth's surface actually absorbs maximum solar radiation during the day. So during the day only we can understand that how solar radiation is actually absorbed by our Earth. So let us also know about the heat zones. What is this heat zone? So according to the amount of insolation received, the Earth has been actually divided into 3 heat zones. One is a torrid zone, then you can see the temperate zone and the frigid zone. So 3 zones we can talk about. So here factors controlling temperature. So that is, you have to understand latitudes. Like latitudes is a part of our what called how this controlling the temperature. So the more you go above, the more you are then the temperatures are actually different. So here some of the is given, table is given, page number 142. So I would like to suggest you to read through all this one to know more about it. So if suppose you want to know about this one, you can understand here. Okay, so heat zone, for example, we are talking about the torrid zone. Now when we talk about the torrid zone, the location is actually between the Tropic of Cancer and a Tropic of Capricorn. So this is the areas where the torrid zone actually considered. So sometimes we are talking about the this equator and all, no? So here you can understand. Then what are the features we need to remember for this torrid zone? So features, what you can understand, sun rays fall vertically over this zone. It means you remember the equator where the equator is always the very hot all through the year, and the sunlight is here vertically falling. That is the one of the features. Second feature is receives maximum insolation. It means a lot of solar energy is actually receives in this zone, and then it is the hottest zone. In fact, it is the hottest zone. Okay, so this is the features you can remember. Second one features or the second heat zone we can understand about the temperate zone. Now, how is a temperate zone in fact or the location we can find out. So in the temperate zone, especially we between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle in the northern hemisphere. You must remember in the globe that is between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle. Okay, in the northern hemisphere, and the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere. So these are the zones are considered in fact as a temperate zone. Okay, and which are the features in fact we can see in this zone. In this temperate zone, you can see that receives moderate insolation. It means a solar energy is a very medium size, not very hot even, not very cold also. So there is a medium size. And perhaps according to the time passes, you can see that there are other things also existing. Okay, then a moderate temperature we can find, and neither very hot nor very cold also here. So that is we can find. Next is we have the third one is a frigid zone. What is a frigid zone in fact all about, and which place it is located. Now between the North Pole, you must remember, between the North Pole and the Arctic Circle, between the North Pole and the Arctic Circle. So in the northern hemisphere and the you can understand the South Pole and the Antarctic Circle, South Pole and Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere. So these are the like a zone which is actually located here, and the frigid zone is known as this one. And what are the features in fact about this frigid zone? Features is what here receives slanting rays of the sun. Slanting slanting rays. It means a very very like a light sunlight here. You can understand. And then receives minimum insolation called as zone. Minimum, hardly sometimes sunlight is actually. Therefore, almost all through the year you can see that icebergs are still floating in the ocean and all. It is really making the things worse, and people who are living such kind of areas, they are suffering every year because of this the zone which is actually containing. Okay, so that is we have to understand. So and there's another like a factors that is actually influencing, that is altitude. Okay, the height above the sea level, and this is also part of our discussion. Then next one is a distance from the sea. Okay, so distance from the sea, it means how far the area is away from the sea. And you see, when we talk about the away from the sea, let's see here what is speaking. See, sea has a moderating effect on the climate of a place, and places near the sea are actually neither too hot nor too cold. And this is due to the land breeze and a sea breeze. Land breeze and sea breeze is interchanging, exchanging, that things are happening. So land heats up actually cools down faster than the sea, and during the day the land is warmer than the sea. Okay, and air over the land is hot and it becomes lighter and rises, and this causes the cool air from the sea to take its place, and this is known as the sea breeze. It means from the rotating. It means hot air is going upwards, and then and the hot is cold air is prevailing there. Okay, all right. So you will come to know that. Then you can read about more this one, page number 143. Then we have got another winds. What type of activity this wind actually influencing? So winds also have an impact on the climate of a place, and the warm winds raise the temperature of a place, whereas the cold winds actually lower the temperature of a place. Now another is a factor is ocean currents. What is this ocean currents? Now warm ocean currents actually increase the temperature, while cold ocean currents decreases the temperature of the nearby coastal areas. Okay. Then other factors like a slope of land, relief cloud soil, vegetation, cover also influence the temperature of a place. Okay, this is part of that. Next, we have to understand about the measurement of a temperature. How do we actually measure? See, the instrument used to measure the temperature of air is a thermometer. You remember, the temperature of air is actually measured in degrees, and the scales used to measure temperature are actually Fahrenheit scale, that is you can understand, and Celsius scale, that is you have already seen in the meter and all. And in India, mostly the Celsius scale is used, and on this scale the boiling point of a water is actually 100 degrees Celsius, and a freezing point of the water is 0 degrees Celsius. Now on the Fahrenheit scale, these points are actually 212 degree Fahrenheit and 32 degree Fahrenheit actually respectively. So you can understand. So let us know also the atmospheric pressure. Now air has weight which actually exerts pressure on everything on the earth's surface, and it is called atmospheric pressure. So you remember what is atmospheric pressure. It is actually defined as the force exerted by a column of air due to its weight on the surface of the earth. And atmospheric pressure is measured by an instrument called a barometer, and the unit in which air pressure is measured is called millibars. Okay, millibars. So you remember this one, you read it. It is not the part of the like so big explanation. And then also we will talk about the factors affecting atmospheric pressure. So which are the factors in fact we can find? Now see altitude. Altitude is a pressure is higher at a sea level and it decreases with the height. Denser air is a heavy and exerts greater pressure. Light air actually rises up and expands, and it is less dense and hence exerts less pressure. So this is, you can understand. Temperature, with an increase in temperature, air depends or expands on becomes light and subsequently less dense. And light air exerts less pressure. On the other hand, cold air is dense and heavier, hence it exerts more pressure. Okay, so water vapor, air which has water vapor is lighter than the air which has a little or no water vapor. Therefore, moist air exerts less pressure than dry air. So you can remember. So pressure belts, the atmospheric pressure is not the same all over the globe. Okay, and then it varies from place to place, and it is greatly modified by the rotation of the earth. So which are the pressure belts that we have got? So here are 4 pressure belts that we are able to follow. First one is a equator low pressure belt. Second one is a subtropical high pressure belt. Third one is a subpolar low pressure belt, and then a fourth one is a polar high pressure belt. So these are the few things that is mentioned here. Okay. Then you will be reading about the winds. Okay. So winds are there. So you can read through these winds and different winds that we have got, and you will be able to understand better. Okay. So winds, in fact, is mentioned here. The varieties of winds that we have got, that is planetary winds, periodic winds, local winds, and variable winds. And all this wind, in fact, is like creating the such kind of like a different climatic problem or temperature. These are all actually playing the role. So here little bit you know about the planetary wind. What actually this is planetary winds. Now see, winds that actually blow constantly in a particular direction are called planetary winds. Okay. Then what do we call like a trade winds? Trade winds is these winds blow from the subtropical high pressure belts to equatorial low pressure belts in both the hemisphere. Okay. So they blow from the northeast in the northern hemisphere and from the southeast in the southern hemisphere. You can remember. And then we have got another wind system, that is a water lice. The water lice. Here, these winds blow from the subtropical high pressure belts to the subpolar low pressure belts in both the hemisphere. Okay, so this one you can read through. Then polar winds. These winds actually blow from the polar high pressure belts to the subpolar low pressure belts in both the hemisphere. Okay, so periodic wind. The winds that actually change their direction periodically called periodic winds, and they are actually caused by unequal heating and cooling of the surface of the earth and a difference in atmospheric pressure. Okay, so monsoon winds and land, sea breeze are also example of that. Local winds, whom do we call? These local winds actually, these winds blow actually over small areas for a short time, and most of these winds are actually seasonal winds. So they cause a sudden increase of increase or decrease in the temperature, and have local names. Some local winds are actually Lu in India, we call it Chinook, that is in North America, and Foin, that is in Europe. So these are the different names are given. Another is a variable winds. What do they say? Variable winds. Variable winds, cyclones and anticyclones are actually examples of variable winds. So you can remember. Next we have got a humidity. Now see, what is the humidity? Humidity is actually defined as the amount of water vapor present in the air, and water vapor present in the air varies from time to time and from place to place. So water vapor actually present in the atmosphere comes from the evaporation of the water bodies, and it is closely related to the temperature. Okay? So remember this one. And the instrument we use to measure humidity is called a hygrometer. Okay, you must remember. Then you have the absolute humidity, and then relative humidity. I just would like to suggest you to read through. Condensation you read through. Clouds you read through. Then under this cloud, what called condensation, you can see the dew, frost, fog. These are also part of the discussion. Precipitation you read through, and under this precipitation we have got like a different varieties of rainfall. That is a conventional rainfall, then a cyclonic rainfall, then a orographic rainfall. So all this one I would like to suggest you to read through, and also the last part about the case study on Odisha cyclone, that is in 1999. So read through and then you get the information from here. Okay, so see you in the next class. Thank you.